Welcome back to Gallagher Shots. This is ExtraTyne. It's the week at Newcastle United FC. My name is Emil Franchi, and I'm joined once again by my beautiful co-host Jess Cubson in the headphones. There, it's like regeneration at the minute. It's like different Doctor Who, and there's current bets on who's going to be here next week. Hopefully, Jess is going to be here next week, but she's got some stuff going on. So just for the moment, she's not. And joined tonight by Mark, resident of the Always Smiling Faces podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, Mark.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I'm breaking my virginity being on ExtraTyne this week.
You've not been on ExtraTyne yet, have you? Yeah.
I haven't. No.
Well, there's going to be
first time for everything.
More of the same of what you were talking about the other night, and we're just going to do it a little bit differently. Can't wait, indeed. We're also joined by Ian, who you may know from YouTube. If you subscribe to his channel, you scum. No, I'm joking, of course. It's always nice to support the other channels. Ian, how's everything going?
Yeah, great. I've been a bit busy recently, but I've got a plan to get back into the YouTube videos. So I've not put one out for a couple of weeks. So I just thought I'd get my plug in early.
Yeah, get it in there. Get it in. How was Parents' Evening?
Oh, joyful. Yeah.
You doing Parents' Evening, or do you just have to go along and find out what's going on?
Yeah, no, me doing Parents' Evening in my day job.
Yeah, are they all good?
Yeah, fab. Yeah, great. Yeah. Great class. Yeah, I better be careful what I say. In case,
I know. I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all little shits. No, I'm joking. They're all good kids. Anyone watching in the Scarborough region right now, and Liam as well. Liam, one of the faces behind Dobby Solano. Are you the ears or the Solano bit? Are you Dobby or Solano?
I'm Dobby.
Right.
And when we inevitably break up, it'll be Dobby, not Solano.
Yeah, Harry Potter dedicated Twitter feeds that we've got going on. Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight, fellas. Yes, like I said, the last 7 days at Newcastle United have been grim to say the least. It's not been the best. Not good at all, really. But Liam, I was about to say you were meant to come on last week, but you forgot it was your own birthday, so that got things off to a great start before the Manchester United game even kicked off.
I did, yeah.
So anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're glad you're here for this one. But let's start with the thing we don't really want to talk about, and we'll get through this in about as much time it took Man United to score the final three. Carl Darlow was in goal. Probably the only good thing that we can talk about in that game. He faced 27 shots, 14 of which were on target, and he played with an injury. The rest of the game, Mark, can you sum it up?
Shite.
Quite. Very much. Yes, it was, wasn't it? It's just not great. And you probably covered this to death on the Always Smiling Faces podcast. But Ian, do you think that the worst thing that happened was the fact that we went up 1-0 right at the start?
No, I don't buy that. I think there's just massive problems with the management. And I think, look, say what you want about Man United, but at the end of the day, we've got a team who should be more competitive than we're being. And to me, that boils down to the way that they're put together by the management and the coaching team. And I think that Bruce has shown time and time again that he falls short. And I think every heavy defeat, it's easy to sort of say these things, but even when we're winning and stuff, it's never brilliant. So.
Yeah, no, it's not. I think I said when we were doing the live stream for the match on Saturday, it was the end of my patience. I've given it every little inch that I have every single time it happens, and we get picked up by the likes of the wins against Burnley, the start of the season against West Ham. But when you see the team literally just with that much ability, Ryan Fraser and Almer on the bench, I just thought, you know what, there needs to be some serious booking up here. But ultimately, I don't see it happening. Liam, do you think it's end of the road now in terms of most fans, even those who can try and defend?
Yeah, I've always been kind of one of these who I've tried not to be too slanderous towards Bruce, because I very much understand the position he's in. He's a very bang average manager who's been offered his kind of dream job. Last season he kind of caught us by surprise. I expected it to be a lot worse than what it was last season. But I missed the Burnley game as well, so I've literally saw the Newport game and then that.
Wow.
And the Spurs game, the Newport game, and then that. and the performances are just like beyond dreadful. They're just absolutely dreadful. There just doesn't. I've seen loads of people say the same thing, but there just doesn't ever seem to be. There's not even a plan A. There just never seems to be a plan A. Never mind a plan B. And you look at the team every week and you think, what are you being told to do? It's just.
I think the concerning thing is like and I don't want to harp on about Rafa because I think that ship sailed, and I'm not one for getting him back at this point. But I just think Rafa gave us that stability in games where the defensive stability, where we were always in the match, even though we were often outplayed. But for me, Bruce has just wrecked that. So that defensive stability we had just has gone missing in games, and we're getting slaughtered sometimes in games and conceding loads of goals.
Yeah, there was a stat this week about Lascelles and Fernandez, two of the only defenders that haven't been dribbled past this week. But someone made a very good point that that they're simply passing the ball away from them and then getting them around them that way. It doesn't have to be all the fancy footwork. But Lascelles' comments seemed to rile people up a bit more, didn't they, Mark? Do you think that, I mean, we spoke about this with Ketch the other week about press conferences and quotes being the headline grabbers, they need to get the attention. But do you believe that Lascelles believes that, what he said?
Yeah, it's a worrying statement, isn't it? I mean, when I first read it, before realising who had actually said it, you could expect those words to come out of Bruce's mouth, because that's the type of excuse and reason that he quite often gives. But it just seems that like that whole mentality is now kind of seeping through into the players, and it's that kind of opinion and ideas that are now causing kind of these negative performances that we're seeing. Because if you're constantly getting told by your coach or your manager that potentially you're not good enough and that we've got to be shutting up shop and that sort of thing, it's going to start affecting your confidence and how well you play in the game. So it beggars belief that is the kind of attitude that's now being instilled into the squad, and particularly into your club captain, which is the biggest worry.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy who was starting fights with players not so long ago. He was the one that would go in the press conference, even though he was at the time quite a junior member of the squad, just coming through in that famous interview at the Southampton game. It doesn't bode well. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, but how many games do you actually see this lasting? And do you think it could go on forever, or do you think there will be a point where even our slow-moving hierarchy say enough's enough?
That's the concern, isn't it? Any other club would not put up with it for much longer. But history tells us that Ashley acts too late, and the worry is that happens again this season, because I'm sure that if there's 8 games left and Bruce is still there, Ashley probably will get rid of him. But 2 times that's happened in the past, and it's cost us a relegation. So it's dangerous territory. But I don't see Bruce going anytime soon. I really don't.
Yeah, I had a thought this week just on that. I think again I mentioned it on the stream when I was talking to Gaz just about managers and stuff like that. And I'll ask you, Liam, on this one. Do you think that it was a case of, yes, we acted too late to get rid of McLaren and bring Benitez in? But given what actually happened in the games under Benitez, do you think that it was still too little too late, even for a manager of that caliber? Like, regardless of who you brought in, we were destined to go down.
Yeah, I think the problem is when you allow a very poor manager that length of time in a job, and we're kind of seeing the adverse effect of it, Bruce after Rafa, is that if you give a poor manager a lot of time in a job, the kind of whole mentality of the team changes, the way that we play changes. You give McLaren however long he had to play absolute just dog shit football the entire time, to just kind of very much like we play under Bruce a lot of the time, just there's no kind of clue as to what you can't watch the team and think, I really understand what you guys are going out and doing. It becomes an instilled mentality in the team, and then it takes probably 5-6 games to even just break through that. So I remember when Rafa came in, I had absolutely no thoughts that we would stay up, despite how good of a manager he was. It's the amount of rot that sets in after this kind of long period of, and I think with Bruce the problem is, I think the players are they really like him. It's like having like a substitute teacher, where you're not learning anything, but like you're kind of getting away with it a bit, because he's like a nice lad, and you're not really doing any work.
But surely these players that have come in, I mean, like Wilson and Fraser. I know there's been questions around Fraser and the whole Bournemouth situation, but Wilson as well. Surely these players don't want to just play for a club and see it go down. I mean, it'd just be unheard of, wouldn't it? It'd be awful for starters to bring them in.
And this is one of the major problems which I have at the minute is, on paper we've got one of the best teams we've had in a long time. We've invested well. Funnily enough, this season we've brought in quality players like Wilson and Fraser. We've got quality players like Almiron and St. Maximin, and he's playing Jeff Hendrick
before, didn't we? Yeah.
He's playing Jeff Hendrick on the wing in a counter-attacking team.
My dad made a good point the other day. He was saying, like, under Ashley, he either invests with a crap manager or you have a good manager and he doesn't invest. And it's like you can never get both with Ashley, and it's just weird. Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's always got to be on his terms, isn't it? And it's like if he's bringing in what he deems as his man, he'll back them. Whereas kind of Rafa came in, and it's well documented that he approached the club wanting to come in and take over and stuff like that. And the fact that he was quite outspoken against Ashley and that kind of thing, kind of put those barriers up that he perhaps didn't have as good a relationship as he might have had. But it does massively kind of stink of that McLaren season at the moment, with the good money being spent in the summer looking to strengthen. You think you've got a good team going into it. The difference for me is that under McLaren we didn't start off too badly. Our performances were all right, and we were quite unlucky in games to like not get results, and then things started to go bad. And yes, by the end of his time here, it was dreadful, and he should have gone weeks and weeks before he eventually did go. But so you just hope that either we turn the things around very quickly, which seems unlikely, or he reacts much quicker this time around.
Yeah. Does anyone think that that Bruce could lose the dressing room? I know you said about the substitute teacher thing there, Liam, but I'm thinking, personally thinking, that the only way that we see Bruce leave, given the results, if it gets any worse, is the players going, look, we don't want this.
I think it's very difficult because you look, Alan St. Maximin just signed a 6-year contract under Steve Bruce.
That's true, but how much sway does the manager really have with this? That's the problem.
Well,
I was thinking there about, like, Ashley brought Keegan in, but we know that Keegan technically got backed, but got backed in the wrong reasons. He got handed players, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the difficulty is that he's a very likable bloke. Like, I've got nothing against him as a person. I think he is a very likable person. I'm sure that he gets on well with the players, and I think.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think McLaren necessarily lost the dressing room. I think it's more kind of with managers like that. It's got to be based on performances, and unfortunately, we've got a football owner that doesn't watch football, so it is going to be a very difficult kind of process of inevitably eliminating him from the situation.
Unless it's at Tottenham, of course, and he's giving it the old rubbing hands. Well,
Bruce is a little bit like, kind of the way I see him is a little bit like what Terry Mack used to do. He used to be in there having, keeping the players on side, joining in, being almost a bit of a liaison kind of guy within the team, and just keeping morale up and stuff like that. And then you then think, right, well, it's then down to the coaching team behind it to actually get the best out of him. And then you look at his coaching team, and I mean, they're not world-class names that you're looking at. Like Steve Agnew was a fantastically mediocre player. Yeah. So I don't know. It just doesn't fill you with masses of confidence, does it? I mean,
that's my thing at the minute, Mark. I'm scared. I'm scared of how, like I was saying to you, Ian, like the speed to react for me now is vital. if it gets worse, and if they go down if people start judging the Luke Edwards way, which personally I think is a sensible thing, 10 games, right, what happens next? But anyway, I've got a question later which will be quite interesting.
The only thing, Emil, on that point of view is around the 10 games thing is...
Yeah, when you started from.
Yeah, but you look at the point of... Look back to Rafa's last season, the start that we had, it was absolutely terrible. When you look on paper, we're in a better position than we were then. However,
even last season we didn't have a great start, did we?
Yeah.
It took until November to get those wins against West Ham and Southampton, Bournemouth. But
I think under Rafa, you always had the thought or the knowledge that it would happen at some time. You'd get out of it.
February it'll kick in. Matt Ritchie will come back and everything will be all right.
I don't know. I'm scared that we have got that. Yeah, that always happened in February time.
Kennedy comes back on loan for some reason. Well, roll on February, lads, is what I'll say. Just to quickly look at the other stuff that's going on. We mentioned Sam Maximan's contract there. Another player that's been touted for a new contract is Dwight Gale. Now, he's currently injured, but I believe that this contract is there to stop him wanting to go anywhere in January. Ian, do you think that Gale coming back might be a bit of a benefit for us, especially if we can get him a new contract, or do you think that this is just a bit of a non-starter?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything against Gale, and at the end of last season, he came and did a job for us. I'm just not sure it sends the right message about what we're doing as a football club if we're offering him a new contract, if I'm perfectly honest with you. It's like we buy a few players, but then we're still kind of short in areas, so we're just going to try and make do with what we've got. And I think, Gale's, in a sense, he's had his time, really. He's had his chance.
I'd love to, personally, for me, I think that the idea of Gale and Wilson could be quite an enticing prospect for me, just purely based on the way he played towards the end of last season. I mean, you can't deny that the poacher's instinct was there. Imagine having two people with poacher's instinct, as well as a guy who can set a few goals up himself too. So
I suppose in a backup role, maybe he's all right.
Yeah, Liam, what do you reckon?
I think if Steve Bruce stays, he'll definitely get a new contract. I mean, like, you look at Andy Carroll. Like if Andy Carroll's like justified a new contract, I think Gale really has, considering his kind of form towards the back end last season. I don't think he's the worst option. I think the boat kind of sailed on make any sort of money with him. I think if there was a time to sell, it would have been on the back end of it, probably his last loan spell with West Brom, when he kind of scored a lot of goals, or even doing like the part exchange deal for Rondon would have made loads of sense. But when Newcastle,
so what you're saying is we need to send Dwight Gale to Dalian over in China, and we need to get Rafa to come in for him.
But Rondon was saying recently he wanted to come back, didn't he? He was quoted saying he would happily come back in January.
Dwight Gale to Dalian.
Got 5 articles out of
that. Yeah.
But I think that the Gale one, it's to me, it just smacks of wanting to get a transfer fee for him, of just
I thought that.
tying him up and let's get him on a contract so that we can then cash in on him, because you can guarantee if he hadn't have got injured at the back end of last season, we would have sold him in the summer, and he would have went for a decent amount of money, because he had, as we've just said there, a good end of the season.
Oh, Norwich will be absolutely crying out for that, or Bournemouth or Watford, they'd absolutely snap that up. So definitely, he's a championship winner, or at least there or thereabouts, as we saw with West Brom.
That's another reason why they keep him on, in case we're there.
Planning for the future for one.
Give him another year. It's like a chessboard, thinking three steps ahead. Steve Bruce, mastermind. The 25-man squad was named this week as well. An absolute travesty that Henri Save once again didn't make it. Akraf Lazar, he'll be kicking the walls in his hotel that he's still not left.
Didn't he go to Germany, Emil?
Did he go there, Lazar? Is he moved, has he?
That was your other mate.
Which one?
Lazaro.
Oh, Lazaro, sorry, yes. Yeah, for context, I saw that Lazaro had got in one of the teams towards the end of last season, and I said to Mark, "What the hell's Lazaro suddenly playing for?" And then I clocked and realised that we had two of the least similar names. But yeah, Achraf Lazaro, like I say, kicking through the next room. Rodrigo Vilca will be absolutely fuming that he's not happy about that. Aarons didn't get his move, which is a shame for him, really, because I think he's dying to go and live in the League One realms or the Championship relegation zone. And Christian Atsu, we won't see his magnificence come off the bench this season. The crowd goes wild.
Murphy got in ahead of Atsu this year, didn't he?
It's Steve Bruce's English mags, I believe, slowly being formed is the word on the street. But Atsu likely to be away to maybe the Scottish Premier League, perhaps, or something like that. But let's get our teeth into this big subject, this really heartwarming subject that we were gonna bring up. Mark, you're probably going into this a bit dry because we've had a little bit of prep. But given the way that Newcastle lost on Saturday, Newcastle's awful 4-1 defeat at home at the hands of Manchester United, we were thinking about the games where Newcastle have thrown the towel in, our biggest match day meltdowns. Not so much the reaction on Twitter, but the way that the game went, and you just thought, you know what, I'm turning this off. This is absolutely awful. And the players said that as well. So, Liam, I'll start with you. And you made a very good point. Every game that we go 1-0 up against Man United, and you quoted Kennedy and Muto being a good one, and obviously Saturday was another. Can you add anything to that, please?
Well, speaking of Dwight Gale, do you remember? I think it was 2 seasons ago under Rafa when he seemed to score away to the big teams, and every game he would score first early, and then would go and get tonked. He scored first against Chelsea away, then went and got thrashed. He scored against Man U away. I'm sure that was like another 4-1 or something. But yeah,
more benefits of Dwight Gale here. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
He causes meltdowns. Well, I was thinking even last season, Matty Longstaff scoring and doing the old injection into the arms, and then that game was absolute garbage. Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Shearer commentating. It was dreadful. But yeah, the two being 2-0 up away to Man U, and it was like if they'd lost that game, that was when Mourinho would have lost his job.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a 90th minute winner from Alexis Sanchez.
Sanchez. Yep.
Absolutely terrible. What is it with us with Man U as well? The players who have hit the worst form of their career seem to turn it around against us. Harry Maguire. What a start he's had this season. And I sat there and I was like, he's going to get one against us today. He's going to have an absolute blinding game against us. And it'll set him up for the rest of the season now. We're a confidence.
They went and beat PSG, so good for them. 3 cheers for Man United and Ollie. I put this one down because I think you mentioned it, Ian. But I'll throw this one to Mark because I think it's an easy one, because I would like to bring Blackburn to you, Ian. 1996 away. This is far too early for myself, and probably far too. Mark was probably far too young for this one as well. Liam probably just remembers it. But 1996 here. Can you tell us a bit about that game and what went on?
Well, yeah, thanks. It's a nice memory, of course. So obviously 1996 April, we're close to winning the title. We're still we're still there, still in the lead, I think, at that point. We go away to Ewood Park. We're 1-0 up with 5 minutes to go. Alan Shearer doesn't look interested all night playing for Blackburn, couldn't care less about trying to score. And then a substitute comes on by the name of Graham Fenton, Northeast, Geordie lad, scores 2 goals. We lose 2-1. And it wasn't the game that cost us the title, but it went a long way to doing so. It was just gutting. It was absolutely... I was just gutted watching.
Are you trying to say that Newcastle fans coined the term Fenton being shouted loud in a screen long
way before the dog guy?
Yeah. Fenton, Jesus Christ, we're about to lose the league. Maybe that guy was just an avid Newcastle fan. We're finding out all sorts tonight. I imagine. I mean, I guess that season as a whole is more of a meltdown than just one game.
And of course it had the Keegan meltdown in it. as part of
Yes, yeah. There's many meltdowns there, losing the plot,
After
mind
lose-
games. Mark, the one I was going to throw to you was one that we brought up on the on this video not so long ago when he moved to India. But the game where Stephen Taylor won himself Oscar for Best Actor, absolute meltdown at home to the hands of
Villa
Aston
game, wasn't it?
Villa. Were you at
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I can remember it. Him getting sent off at the Leazer's end.
And I mean,
For
we
that.
just saw it all in that game, really, didn't we? What's your favourite moment from that one?
God,
The fight?
The fight.
yeah, it's great. It's got to be, isn't it? Like,
I mean, that's the madness of that game, is that, yes,
there's
we
just
lost
so
3-0.
much going on, wasn't it?
Stephen Taylor got hit by a ball and tried to pretend that it didn't hit his hand but went for his chest, got sent off, and then there was a fight. I mean, it's just this, like, defies belief of what went on that game.
It's just absolutely maniac of a game, wasn't it? Just
Yeah.
so much going on, and
It's just the Graham
It's-
Souness
it's-
effect.
it is. I mean, and God, he was an awful man. I mean, I think we say that about every single manager that
Yeah.
we get over the years, but because we have had some absolute dross. But God, he was awful, and he's continuing on with that record. And he's in his latest gig being a so-called pundit with how bad he is. But yeah, that game, just as you say, it had everything from a controversy point of view, didn't it? But yeah,
thing is
that with Taylor will just live on forever.
It was great though.
It's ridiculous, wasn't it?
Looking back, it's like, obviously at the time it was like, what is going on? I mean, I remember I was at the game that day, and I was watching the ball, and then I just heard, like, it was my brother, I think, he was like, what the hell's going on there? And it was just
because we were on the attack, weren't we?
We were on the attack, and Dyer and Bowyer were just scrapping, and then Bowyer's shirt's half ripped off, and then the press conference afterwards that was just a thing of genius. I mean, Graham Souness, you've got Dyer on one side, Bowyer on the other side, like two naughty schoolboys. It was just, it was funny. Like, even at the time, I remember going back to my brother's house after the game and watching it, watching the press conference and stuff, and just being like, this is unbelievable.
It is nice to know that Newcastle will always feature in, like, craziest moments of football. You know, Andy Townsend presents, like, a knockoff DVD that you've just got from your uncle. You found it in his wardrobe, saying, "What's this?" And say, "Who's this weird guy who's got a funny voice?" The other one that I didn't mention in the chat, but I was going to mention because I remember this one being an absolute car crash. Birmingham FA Cup replay at home, where Newcastle went and lost 5-1. Does anyone remember that one?
Vaguely. Was it an evening game?
That was only a few years ago, wasn't it? No.
Oh wait, I think we were in. I think it was Northern Rock Seasons. I think we might have been in the blue North. So probably around the same time as the Villa game. Maybe this was started it. This is like the precursor. But yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Stern John scored a goal for Birmingham, and that always makes me happy because Stern John is my go-to obscure footballer of all time. And I think it was on the BBC, FA Cup replay. And bearing in mind that Birmingham at the time were in the Division 1, the Championship. And everyone was just, what the hell's going on? And I mean, this was long before Twitter was even a thing. So you can just imagine what the hell was being said on there. My God, it would have been fantastic viewing. But one that Liam was talking about in the chat was, I mean, you basically said, I've got written down here just John Carver. It was just any game with John Carver.
Yeah, John Carver's reign. Yeah,
John Carver's reign was just one utter meltdown, wasn't it?
Literally, it was like the back end of the season was just a constant, terrible performance.
A pantomime, if you will.
It was absolutely atrocious. I think it was that season as well. Oh no, I'm talking about the McLaren season. This one stood out to me massively.
You had the Aguero.
Yeah, when Mitro scores to put us 1-0 up. I think like quite early on, maybe it's the 18th minute or something. And so we're 1-0 up away to Man City, and we lost 6-1. And Aguero scored 5.
Yeah, did I just score there?
You're back.
I'm back. You know what? I couldn't bear listening to what the hell was going on there. I just had to take a time out. All I heard was Aguero scored 5 at the end. There,
he did score 5. And the most annoying thing actually was they equalised, I think, just before half time, and then they scored for 2-1 just before half time as well. And the one for 2-1 was offside. So really, would have won that game if it wasn't for
If
VAR
VAR was about.
Yeah, exactly. Aguero wouldn't have got those other 4 goals.
We had a lot of capitulations in those days, didn't we? Like under McLaren in Pardew, I lose count of the amount of games under Pardew where we were maybe 1-0 up or 0-0 going into the last 20-30 minutes, and we'd come away losing 4-5-0, 4-5-1 and game things like that. It seemed to happen every other month.
Yeah.
That would be on the end of a hammering like that.
It's been a feature of the Ashley era before Rafa. Really,
until Rafa
came,
a
constant thing, wasn't it?
Well, there is one glaring omission that we should mention from the Rafa years, and that, of course, Nottingham Forest in the League Cup.
Forest, yeah.
Marcus is always a bit of a stalwart this of mentions in the podcast. But what is it again? Was it like it was 1-1 and Rondon?
It was crazy because Darlow saved 2 penalties in that game, didn't he?
That
was the league, wasn't it?
Rondon scored in the fight. No, it was the cup. This was League Cup. Start of the season. And it was a game, a bit like the Man United one, where it was 1-1 at 90 minutes and we managed to lose 3-1.
Yeah, conceded 2 in the last couple of minutes, didn't we, from that one?
Before extra time even managed to start. It just, Rondon scored, they ran up the other end, banged one in, and then got another one. And there was one of their players was just being one of those cocky championship players who was having the game of his life.
Henry Lansbury.
No, it wasn't Lansbury.
Was it him?
It wasn't Lansbury.
That was the game when Darlow saved 2 pens, was the Lansbury one. That was when we were in the championship in the league.
Was Lansbury the guy who was just putting himself about all game and being
Lansbury's
quite
the one who
physical?
managed to get his comeuppance in the Villa game in the league by
on the
scoring
post.
an own goal.
Yes.
And it was the most wonderful end to that season.
Yeah.
I remember the league. I remember the League Cup game. It's coming back to us now painfully. I remember, Rondon scored.
This is where your Wi-Fi needs to cut out, by the way. Like, this is where you need to just go out.
I remember Rondon. The most annoying thing was about that game, though, was I'm sure Perez got like one of the worst. I'm sure the keeper just like punched him in the head, come to clear the ball, and just 2-fisted him in the head, and then we didn't get a pen, and then they went down the other end and scored. And I think it was like 3-1 or 4-1 or something.
3-1 by the end. Yeah. My lights going off.
Horrendous.
I've been let down by my 10-hour fire, which I've got going on here.
That one reminds us of about this weekend's opponents, Wolves, when we obviously had that one where was it Bolly when he basically
that was a draw, man. That one, I think.
Yeah,
again a last minute one. We love a last minute goal against Wolves because I think it happened last season where Lascelles scored the first goal and then they scored in the last minute. And I remember doing the fan cams and that one felt like a defeat. That's the thing; it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, was there any big like draw games where we've had a lead go and we've absolutely thrown it away? I mean,
Everton at home. I remember one Everton at home where that. I think we were winning 1-0 for ages. Oh no, it might have been 0-0 going into the end, and they scored like with a header from the edge of the box in about the 97th minute or something like that. That was just awful feeling.
And let's not forget every single derby where we've been playing fantastic going into the run up to it. I mean, namely the 5th season under Pardew when that 3-0 just came completely against the run of the season, which still makes no sense. But
he just couldn't beat Sunderland, could he, Pardew? It's weird.
Nah, not once.
A horrendous draw, by the way, was under McLaren. Under McLaren, we were
to bring him up again.
The shit. We were 2-0 up against Chelsea, and Babu was having the absolute game of his life. Wijnaldum scored one. I think Perez might have scored one. 2-0 up at half time against Chelsea. Yeah. And then I think Willian scored and Ramirez scored an absolute worldie from miles out. And it was one of them where you kind of were 2-0 up against Chelsea. And that was the season that they'd just won the league before as well. And it was kind of like...
I mean, there was the Norwich game that season as well with McLaren where we started off really well. And then they came back to start winning. And then we won 6-3. I mean, it was just, was it 6-3 or
4-3?
4-5? No, that was the championship season. The relegation season, Mark, when we played Norwich.
That one, yeah.
Wijnaldum scored 4. like you say, because that's what he did, didn't he? Oh, it was yeah. What a cheery subject. If by any chance you sat there watching this right now on YouTube and you're thinking, oh, you know what, they've not mentioned that I wanted them to mention that, then please put it in the comments. We'll look at it, and I'll probably give it a thumbs up, and that'll be the end of it, because we'll be bringing it up next week. Ian, be my guest. I just sadomasochism. This, like, I'm going to whip yourself again.
But like, I think this is another cup tie that people forget about, and it was the UEFA Cup quarter-final against Sporting Lisbon.
Benfica. Sporting Lisbon.
And we were 1-0 up after the home leg. We went away. This was Souness. We went 1-0 up in the away leg, so we were 2-0 up on aggregate.
Was this not AZ Alkmaar when we actually went out?
No, it was Lisbon. And we lost 4-2.
Did we?
So we were 2-0 up. Yeah, it was like 2004, I think, something like that. Oh, it was basically the end of Souness. It was like the only good thing that came of it. It was like...
Well, I thought, didn't we play Alkmaar? Or was that in the... I thought Alkmaar booted us out of the UEFA Cup at one point.
Yeah.
I think
that was more recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I thought Lisbon was the one when weren't we in the yellow kits, the away kit?
Yeah, I think we were.
I think we got through, and I'm sure we went out to AZ Alkmaar. We might have to fact check that one, but
yeah,
basically,
no, we definitely lost to Lisbon, and that because Kieran Dyer scored away.
Yeah, that was back early 2000s.
Yeah, it was like 2004, I think.
And another good one.
It was horrendous.
Everything's horrendous about Newcastle United.
You take the lead in the away leg as well, get your away goal, and still lose 4-2.
I mean, if we're going to go down that route, we'll go back to Troye, or whatever, when it was the away goals, Robson, to get through the Intertoto Cup, and they beat us.
Yeah,
it's horrible being a Newcastle fan. If anyone's wondering,
Drogba for Marseille, that's going well back, but that was a tough one to take.
That wasn't so much of a meltdown, though. I think that was just like a one-man masterclass, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. But we were playing fantastically well at the time in all of the run up to it and that, and we were favourites to progress. And he just
it's that blue Northern Rock kit.
It was that
blue Northern Rock kit.
The Jonathan Woodgate injury cost us in that leg, in the second leg. Woodgate was out.
Brilliant defender. Yep. Best I've seen.
I knew that this would bring us all down. I really wanted to have something like funny to talk about. We've just ended up absolutely ruining our night. So let's look to the future. Right? First of all, the future that could be. Kel Watts is still banging him in for Plymouth Argyle, much to the dismay of Yadar, and he's still sponsored by Double Glazing. So Super Kel, it will be back in the Premier League one day, I'm sure. And the other one,
they're loving him down in Plymouth.
Oh, they're loving him on that South Coast. He's just plying him with ginsters pasties over and over again. And yet Ivan Toney finding form with Brentford just in time to play Newcastle in the League Cup. So roll on December. Let's look towards the next game, lads. Wolves. Question that I will put to you, Mark, is how do we prevent a disaster at Molineux? Another good meltdown. FA Cup, Kenny Miller, third round. Awful. Doritos shirt though, bang on. Sorry.
We could try and get the whole squad to catch COVID so that the game gets postponed.
That doesn't happen now.
And then
we'd have to play a Martin Brittain.
I don't know. It's it's worrying, but. Look, you wouldn't put it past bloody Newcastle to turn up down there and beat them, because that's the stupid things that we do, where there's games that, like the Man United one, where you think you've got a good chance and you want to go and give it a good go against them, and we don't, and then you go into a game like this thinking we're probably going to be on a hiding to nothing and get a drubbing, and we actually put in a decent performance. So, but I think it'll be more difficult because they play like we want to play, with the counter-attacking bit pace, the wingers and stuff like that. So, but again, they're a little bit inconsistent. So you've always got a chance. But yeah, I'm not hopeful of coming away with the result.
They're certainly finding form at the wrong time. I watched them the other night against who was it they were playing on Monday night? Leeds,
yeah.
who to be fair, Leeds. I mean, they are the surprise package. They're doing what Sheffield United did, and they've come in with quite a good game. And if it wasn't for Calvin Phillips's unfortunate placement, they probably would have got a point out of that. And I think Wolves should be docked points for their Portugal away kit anyway, because that's just taking the piss. Really, they're just trying to get away with it. But yeah, Wolves are. I mean, we've got a fair amount of points off them, but we haven't actually beaten them since they've come back up, Liam. So, I mean, what do we think about this one? Do you think that this is going to be a game where he says, right, reaction lads, Almiron, you're going to start, and let's try and throw the book out for the 20th time in my seasons?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We always seem to draw against them. I think we always tend to go ahead, and then it's like a sickener, like equaliser, like the one away at Molineux. I think Hayden scored a good goal, and then Willy Bolly used Dubravka as a climbing frame.
That was that one, wasn't it?
Disgraceful. No VAR. There was. I think it was
last
year.
It was a 1-1, wasn't it? As well.
True, last season, yeah. Almiron.
Away and at home.
Do you think that he's got to start this game, Almiron? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about him.
I think, like I go back to the problem is at the minute is we're playing counter-attacking football with Jeff Hendrick on the wing, who's I think probably equally one of the slowest players in the world. And I'm just hoping, because he's gonna play him, he insists on playing him, and he's kind of one of these utility players, which I'm not like.
Well, Hayden's injured, isn't he?
Yeah.
So why not shift him? You know, it starts with an H, so there's going to be no different. Shelby won't have trouble understanding what's gone different there.
But then, under Steve Bruce logic, you could look at that, and then he'll play Fabian Schär in midfield.
Yeah,
that absolutely broke me on Saturday. That
the
perfect opportunity to put Hendrick. Like have Hendrick in the middle and bring Almiron or Fraser on the right hand side, and then drop Joe into the middle, and he brings on Shea. As much as I like Shea, but oh my god!
For me, I just tried to put myself in Steve Bruce's mind at that point and look over to my bench.
It's a dark place.
Yeah, don't do that.
My defensive midfielder's got an injury, and I'm looking at my bench and I see Ryan Fraser, one of the quickest players in the league, gets really good goals and assists. Scored midweek for his country.
Yeah, man of the match.
Man of the match performance. Scored midweek for his country. Or I could look at Fabian Schär, who had one of the worst games he's ever had for Switzerland. Was at fault for every goal and got
sent off. Yeah,
I didn't realise he'd had that bad a game. I just saw he'd been sent off.
It was appalling. Every single.
Maybe what should have happened is he should have been suspended, like that joke was made on Twitter about him missing our games. Maybe that should have happened. Ian, I'll hit you first with this very tough question. Would it be for the greater good of Newcastle if we lost this game?
I don't think so, because I don't think Bruce will go.
But do you think this could contribute to the rot? Would you rather see rot set in for the decision to be made sooner, or would you rather get a result against Wolves and then fall to bits in the game against Everton and then start?
I know what you're saying, but to be honest, as a fan of Newcastle, I always want us to win. So I wouldn't ever look at a thing to
I'll say straight up as well, hands up. I don't want us to lose, but I'm just thinking.
But I think Bruce is bad enough as it is, and the results will be what they're going to be, and if we win enough games, then that's fine. We'll be, as fans, we'll probably be sort of happy with that, because we are what we are, aren't we? It's hard to get excited about anything because of just our owner and all that rubbish. But you know, Bruce isn't likely to get us win after win after win, and so it will eventually crumble with him, I think. But yeah, I'm certainly not. I don't want us to lose or even draw. I want us to win. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just rubbish, isn't it?
I think as the week's gone on, and you know, I look at it and I think about the Man United game. If they hadn't been in such a bad state as they were, then you might be able to say, well, and Mark, we've talked about this before. You know, you look at the teams that you play and you say, well, there is a traditional top six finisher. Not so much in recent years, but the state that they were in on Saturday, you thought, well, let's have a crack. So maybe take a side like Wolves, who will be playing to win, and we could maybe catch it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. It's going to be a tough one, but I will come for the predictions now. Liam, start with yourself. What do you reckon is going to be the finisher?
I'm going to go with history and say 1-1.
Nice.
And I'm going to say we score probably start of the second half.
And the second half, we get an own goal.
Yeah, and then sit back like we did the other day, and just let the shots come in, and then we'll end up conceding, and I think it'll end 1-1.
Right, I'll introduce a new feature here, because this will be quite good for weeks coming up. Who's going to be the scorer for Newcastle if we are? Who's going to be that first scorer, Liam?
It will be, and this isn't a prediction; it's a spoiler.
Steve Bruce.
It will be
Rebecca
Emil Kraft.
Emil Kraft. He's going to actually score it this time.
Dear me.
He's so bothered. He's so annoyed that Luke Shaw went and took that goal off him the other day. And you know, you saw this in the passionate words that he put out midweek about wanting to win that game. I mean, I just red-blooded male coming out there, that big Swede, you know, ABBA tattooed on his arm and everything. And he just said, you know what, I wanted a draw. Ian, what are we having for this game? What's your score? And if we do score, what is the first scorer?
Yeah,
we don't have to score, by the way. No pressure.
Look, I feel all right about this game. I don't know why, and I can't explain that. I think we might nick it 2-1, genuinely. And I just think we just, like you were saying earlier, we kind of come up with these weird results sometimes, and
we do.
And especially when everyone's expecting us to be terrible, we're quite often not. It's usually the time when we pull something out of the bag. So I reckon 2-1, and I reckon Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson going to kick off the score. I like that. Mark, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'm hopeful for a draw. For a draw. That's how much of a worry it is. But yeah, I'd probably go. We always seem to draw down there, so I think I would be probably looking at 1-1 as well. We're unlikely to score more than one goal. I'm going to say Saint will score.
Yeah, well, I was going to chime in with mine there, and the more I listened to Ian, and I was coming around to his way of thinking. Come on. You know what? Let's have it. Let's have 3 points. Let's have it, because you know what? Twitter will be loving it. Twitter will be just sitting back in that little bath of joy, going, you know what? Forget last week. We're going to win the league. So 1-0.
And people say Newcastle fans are fickle.
1-0. I didn't say I'm supporting Bruce. 1-0, and I'm going to say Almiron. He'll start. He'll take the ball of his own accord. He'll tell Bruce to stand on the pitch, put it through Bruce's legs, give him the V's, run through Wolves' entire shithouse Portuguese defence. And as Patricio comes up to take the ball from his feet, Almiron will actually chip it over him. And then he'll
dazzle him with a smile.
And he'll run over the Nuno Espirito Santo, and he'll say something in Portuguese to really piss him off.
Like, come and sign me.
Yeah, Oh, I've always wanted to do this. On that bombshell, I actually think that we should wrap it up there, lads. See what happens, and hopefully one of our predictions will be right. I'm hoping it's yours, Ian, because mine might have been a little bit...
I'm looking forward to yours coming through.
I might have been slightly over the top, guys. That's all I'm saying.
If Kraft scores and we draw 1 anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's more unbelievable.
Or us winning. Or Newcastle
Almiron
winning.
might actually score, but Emil Kraft getting a goal and us drawing 1-1.
Lame.
Tell you what, yeah. What's he been drinking, that Liam, after his birthday? Yes, lads. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for watching Extra Time. It's the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel, or however you're listening to this. Please subscribe, like, and leave a comment about your favourite meltdown, and why not leave your prediction as well. We'll see how we get on at Molineux, and we'll be back here next Thursday at the same time, hopefully with another regeneration of Jess in some form, hopefully in her original form. We'll see what happens. Right, lads. Catch you later.
Good night.